As you probably noticed from the thumbnail, I have a real treat for you. I have a very special guest joining me on the channel today, Michelle from Hair and Fam 1. In my opinion, she is right up there with Doug Chamberlain when it comes down to knowledge and experience with Hoyas. I especially love her nerdy perspective where she does a lot of deep dive into these plants. Today we're talking about long-term Hoya care, something that I realize sometimes I overlook in my own collecting journey. There's so much wisdom that comes from long-term experience and learning beyond the excitement of collecting plants. Let's dive into the interview. I'm excited to talk with you today. I love nerding out on your channel. It is
Thank you.
It is one of the things that when I watch your videos, I need to have a notebook with me to take notes.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your growing Hoyas and your channel.
My channel is Hair and Fam, like the family, one. I have a long since retired coloring book page that is the original Hair and Fam. So it's Hair and Fam 1. But no, I've had the channel for a little over a year. I decided to make it just about Hoyas. That's kind of I have a lot of plants, but most of them are Hoya. Feel comfortable in talking about. I didn't always feel comfortable talking about plant care because I am still a newbie. I mean, there are growers that have 30-year-old carnosis, and
Right.
I'm not there. I'm not there.
You're not as new as me. Like you're further in it than I am. I think like I have 5 years, but within that 5 years, I've not been in depth with Hoyas. So, I feel you're a little bit above a newbie.
Oh no. No, I think everybody. See, that's the thing is back when I worked a long time ago, I worked in human resources for 5 years, and one of the things I did was develop and teach courses to all the employees about how to use Excel and Word. Like how to the basics of how to use it, plus like how to do things that would help your job. So I am kind of in that vein of a person. I like to share. I always wonder if I give people advice that they may not want, but I try to always share my knowledge. That's a big thing I do is share my knowledge.
Well, we appreciate your knowledge of Hoyas on the channel. Okay, so the first question I have for you is when you look back at your time of growing Hoyas, what are some things that in long-term success, like what do we overlook in the hobby?
I think a big one, and this is kind of a philosophy I have, and maybe this is a philosophy I have because I live in a gambling town. I live in Las Vegas, but I always do the philosophy of you're you're playing with house money with the plant. What that means is you get a plant and it's one leaf, it's two leaves, it's three leaves, and you grow it and you get it to say 10 leaves. And then what happens if something happens? If you can save, if you can cut and take cuttings of that plant, you're still ahead of the game. So I think the thing is not to feel so bad when things happen, because things will always happen. You're going to have a plant die. You're going to have a plant dropping leaves. You're going to have a plant that you forgot to water. That's going to happen all the time. But as long as you tell yourself, I'm better off right now than when I started. Kind of like with your last video with your Hoyas and taking cuttings of those. The thing about it is not every cutting is gonna make it, but I have several Hoya I have that have rotted, and I have completely cut back, only kept a little bit of the original plant on the in the pot, and then repotted the cuttings. And it's been a year, 2 years, and I have two giant plants now.
Hmm.
So the thing is if something happens, I had a mentor when I did polymer clay, and she used to always say, a mistake is an opportunity for embellishment. So I feel like in Hoya or in plant care in general, a mistake is just an opportunity to learn something you didn't know before, and to give yourself grace, because these are living things. So, they're going to be unhappy sometimes, and it's not your fault.
Yeah. I like that because, I filmed a video before we're talking today, and I was just kind of cleaning up this area here. And I've been doing a little like sit down and chats, like unscripted videos. So today in my video, I shared how when I think about success in plants, plant care, and plant hobby, I look at growth, not
Yeah.
not looking at the trials, the journey that you actually go through, because you have to cut a plant back, and then that growth is no longer big, it's small. And if I'm looking at success is in growth alone, that is just not right. It is not in growth alone, it is in the whole like journey itself. If you've gone
Yeah.
through like pest and rot and cutting back, but it's like you've gained knowledge, and that's a pretty big thing.
Yeah, I do. I firmly believe that if you learn something about everything that happens to you that may not be positive, you're coming out a lot better in the long run, because you've you've gained a skill that you didn't have, and maybe someone else didn't have, and you could share that skill with them. So it's kind of the circle of life kind of a
It is,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, you definitely like you gain it, and then you're able to teach it after over time. So, how has growing Hoyas over time changed the way you care for them?
I care for them a lot less than I used to.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is they've all gotten to a place in their plant stability where they kind of operate on their own. I stick them in cabinets. It's high heat, high light, high humidity, and they just grow. So I tend to not helicopter parent my Hoya like I used to. When I first started growing plants, I was a helicopter parent.
Okay.
I
It,
watered every day.
oh, okay. I wish I can't even do that. But so are your all your Hoyas are in cabinets?
No, about the small ones are, and the ones that require humidity are, and the expensive ones are.
Okay.
Um, I have about I'm looking at it right over here. I have about 80 in cabinets. I have
Oh,
three. I have a Mills bow, and that stays really high humidity. That thing is like 80, 90% all the time. Then I have two detals, which are smaller. They're the little all glass
yeah.
cabinets. And I have two of those, and I have one that stays high humidity, and I have one that is low humidity. And no matter what I do to it, I can't make it
Really?
get
That's so
any more
strange.
humidity. When I first started, I was deathly afraid to put my Hoya out in my room, because the humidity is so low. But I had a couple people that lived here tell me, yeah, you can put them out. They may grow a little slower. They may stop growing while they adapt, but they will grow. The only reason I have a cabinet, if I lived in another part of the United States with more humidity, I don't know if I would have cabinets. I love them,
Hmm.
but they're kind of a pain in the butt.
They are a bit of a pain. I am glad I have mine, because once winter comes, all plants for themselves. Um, last year I lost some begonias in the polar vortex, like January. I lose a lot of plants in January, so I did lose some already in January, but I'm able to rehab them. But if I lived in Florida, because that's where I moved from, I would not have a cabinet. Or Georgia, any like wherever there's a lot of rain, I won't have a cabinet at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I like being able I have some wall shelves over this way. And
Okay.
then I have a Vicio shelf that way. So my living room is pretty full of Hoya, but the living room is where I spend most of my time. So
Okay. Does your husband appreciate the Hoyas as much as you
yes,
do?
he does. Yes, he does. He was very excited about getting the cabinets. He thought that was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah,
But
that's
no,
awesome.
he likes them. He's a person that wants them to blend into the house. He doesn't want there to be like 15 Hoyas on a windowsill,
Yeah.
because he's like, what is that? My husband's kind of, earlier in his career, he worked with a bunch of interior decorators, so
I was gonna
he
say
got
he must be into interior design if he wants it to blend in.
yeah. But no, he likes them. He sometimes he wonders when I come home with a plant or I get a plant in the mail. He's kind of like, "Where are you gonna put that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll find room."
I'll find a spot. Yeah. Hoyas are known for taking their time to grow. How has patience shown up in your growing journey?
Well, I would say there's two things about that. Number one is I had to learn patience. I'm kind of an immediate gratification kind of a gal. Um, but the other thing I learned is that I kind of touched on it before is it can be slow, but it doesn't have to be. Miro from Basie Plants, who I watch all of his stuff and I've learned a lot, he once said that I don't know a Hoya that doesn't grow fast. It's just the conditions it's in. So in nature, they grow really fast. In my cabinet, they grow, it's crazy. My patience has shown up, especially in places like with my plants I have to restart. Like I had to restart the Hischeliana intervariegate. I told you about that. Then I had to restart um, my rotundifolia, which was kind of a bummer. Let's see, what else did I have to restart? I had to restart my globulosa. I have the cow bang like you do.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
I have a. So is it Velosa and Globulosa? Are they? So there's this whole thing where it's different, and some people say that they're not different. This is that long one. I
uh
have
huh.
the other one, the Velosa as well. Um, so
As far as I know, they're globulosa cow bang.
have you
As far
watched any? Are you a Harry Potter fan?
I do,
I
I
have
the
said
last
I have said globulosa, not globulosa.
no, yeah, I did. I actually went with my daughter and to the midnight releasings of the books, like the
Okay.
last three I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I say
I'm
globulosa, not globulosa.
globulosa.
Back to patients, sorry.
Patience to let the plant do what it's going to do. You patience in that when something happens to your plant, like it looks sad or maybe has a yellow leaf, you don't always have to rush to emergency mode. You can make minor adjustments to your care
Mhm.
and see how it comes through it. Like a good example is me. I used to have self-watering pots for all my stuff because I had everything in pond, but I had a problem where I would fill up the reservoir too full. And,
Okay.
because there's a space and then there's the net pot. And I would fill it up too full because I have a battery powered sprayer. And, I rotted a lot of roots like that. But now that I have in soil, back in soil, I would say that if I have something happen, like a yellow leaf or a drop leaf, I wait and see if the plant like is totally limp, like the whole plant. That's a root problem. You got to get to the roots. I think, and you're probably going to ask this in another question, but Hoya roots are the cause of a lot more problems than people think. And I think when people talk about slow Hoyas, they have root issues.
I'm learning, it's so funny because when we in our channel we tell people, we share things about our journey and stuff, the person actually has to go through it to get it. You
Yeah.
can tell somebody something, you can give advice, you can share, you can tell someone something. It's like, you see your friend going down this path and you're telling her what to do and she's not listening to you, and all of a sudden she gets it from somebody else or something else, and all of a sudden it's like, I've been telling you this whole time. So
Yeah.
we actually have to go through it to really understand it. So the season I'm in now is, yes, it's like everything has been related to roots for me.
Yeah. It's hard. They they actually, and I did want to let you know this. The roots when they're dry, they don't, because they're epiphytes, they're gonna dry out because that's what, when they're in the tree, the rain comes like once or twice a day and it rushes down over them, and then the the roots, they get exposed to air and they dry out. So if you know the signs, like hair like strands, or I am a firm believer in giving it the tug test. Take a little end and pull on it gently, don't yank on it, but if you pull on it gently and it mushes, or it slides away
Yeah.
and leaves a hair, or it pull like it just breaks, that's a dead root. And
Mhm.
you probably need to cut a lot more than you would think you do.
Mhm.
And it is easier. And this is something I definitely want to say, for a lot of times, it is easier to restart the roots than it is to try and trim off as many bad roots as you can and let the Hoya grow with those roots. So, like, when you take a big plant out, cut all the roots off. It's easier for the Hoya because they grow roots anywhere on the stem. It's a lot easier for them to restart the roots. So that's one thing I say is when you go for the root removal, dive in, give it 100%, remove them all.
I agree with that. After going through what I've been going through. Okay, so the next question, and you just touched on it, but when your Hoya isn't behaving as expected, um, what advice would you give some people to like look at to do?
If you have a Hoya that was growing at a regular pace and has now stopped, the chances are probably it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be pests, or it's going to be the roots. Pests you can see, roots you cannot. You have to unpot it. And I think a lot of people are afraid to take their plant out of a pot and take a look at the roots. The other thing is Hoya roots, and you touched on this in your last video. Hoya roots that are rotten don't look like Hoya or philodendron roots that are
Yeah.
rotted, because those are
And
easy to see.
and what I found out is like they smell so good. I came back into the room after being gone for 2 hours. And I'm like, I come back into your room and I had all the roots out. I had everything. I was like, had to go lay down. I come back and it's so perfumey in here. I was like, that
Oh,
is definitely not what philodendron rot roots smell like.
I don't notice the smell. That's
Oh
interesting.
man,
I'll have to
it
smell.
is complete perfume. When I in the video before part two, the one from today, I had the room was filled with perfume. It was like a Hoya bloom. So,
Have you ever bloomed Matilde?
no, but my Matilda did have a peduncle, and when the rod started, it stopped growing, and the peduncle didn't go anywhere. But I hope that plant is only smells if you come close to it, rather than it fills a room. Does it
It
fill a room?
doesn't fit. It doesn't fill a room, but when mine blooms, it definitely stinks up the cabinet. It does.
Okay.
It smells like cat pee.
I'm looking forward to smelling it all. I am looking forward to it because there are some Hoya blooms I've smelled that it smells a little, like a new car smell, but not the good one. It's just doesn't smell
It
right.
smells like the old lady perfume.
Kind of, yeah. Okay, so anything else you want to share about what to expect when your Hoya is declining?
Yeah, I would say that the tug test is important. If you're not familiar with what a rotted root looks like, because like you said in your video, there's two kinds. There's traditional rot, and then for Hoyas, they get dry rot. And a lot of people aren't expecting that. A lot of people are like, well, if I overwater, rot the roots, then how come I can't underwater? And it just doesn't like that. But if you get familiar with looking at a Hoya with the roots and giving the gentle tug test, see does that root split off and leave the hair-like core inside? Um, you know, does it break off? Is it wet and smushy? Because it's been in the reservoir for too long. Um, that's what I do. I always get to know your roots and get to know what good roots look like and what bad roots look like.
Hmm. Do you say when it comes down to semi-hydro growing for Hoyas versus soil growing, how much does your root? How different are they?
They are pretty different. Roots in pond are more like water roots because there is no organic material that they're attaching onto. Um, I really liked pond for the longest time, and I still have probably 20 plants in pond. They're all big ones, so
Hmm.
I don't want to repot them. So I'm just like putting them off until another day. Roots in pond are very water like. So when you transfer them into another medium, the roots go.
Hmm.
I mean,
I, I
most of the roots go.
I feel like it's easier to transfer from uh, pond to soil versus soil to pond.
It's pretty hard. The best way to do pond is if you take a cutting and you
Hmm.
just put that cutting in pond and then you just let it grow and you don't touch it. That's the easiest thing to do. That's the best way to grow a Hoya, I think, is to put it in a substrate you're going to grow it in and then leave it there. Um,
Do you root
I,
cuttings in water first?
no, I'm a terrible water rooter. Um, I have a problem with I've always had this problem with the stem turning to mush in a lot of my Hoyas. So I mostly root in substrate, tree fern fiber, a chunky mix, something like that. So I always use my mix. That way there's no transplant shock. And
Right.
you're not touching the roots as much because you're not taking it from water and putting it in
Mhm.
soil and
What lessons have Hoyas taught you about roots and growing medium over the years?
I would say the most important thing I learned was that semi-hydro pond, and to a lesser extent leca, because I haven't really had this happen with leca, but with pond, Hoya grow really, really, really well in it until they get to a certain point. And it that point is different for every plant, but it gets to a point and the roots run out of room, so they start making this really enmeshed root system that is kind of soggy. It's kind of friable, which means, when you tug on it, it just mushes
Takes off.
away. Um, but so I have learned, I have had Hoya, I think I've been doing pond for like 3 years now. And I grew plants really big and then they stopped growing and they crashed. Um, because pond, I mean, I have a couple of 6-inch pots with pond, but nothing 8-inch. I don't think it's a viable place to put a Hoya, especially a large Hoya. I don't like the root systems it develops after a long time.
It would be so difficult to put a plant in pond on a shelf after a while because that pot gets so heavy. I have to take all my, you know, it's like when you get your cabinet, when you have your cabinet, once you repot your plant, it's heavier, so you have to put it on the lower part of the shelf.
Yeah, they're some of them are pretty heavy. Most of the ones I have are out in the open now, so they're not, but they are on shelves. So, like I have these 4-foot wall shelves. I have three of them because I had just a blank wall with nothing there, so might as well put plants on it. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, my husband and I built it. Um, it was there was a Hoya collector, really nice one, and she passed away, but she lived just down the street from me. And the first time I went to her apartment or condo to pick up a Hoya, she had this wall of bookshelves, this whole giant wall. And it was like pipes and slats of wood. And it was like a cubby hole here and a cubby hole here. And it was just so neat. So I told my husband, I said, I'd like to do that. And he's like, oh, I know how we can do that.
Thinking long term care, how does light and temperature influence the Hoya in the future?
I think the best thing you can do is to learn where your Hoya comes from. And it doesn't have to be like a huge, Indiana Jones search. But if you just type up, I mean, Google's great now because AI is everything. You can put in your Google search, where did this Hoya come from? Where is it from? And then you can go and you can say, what is the weather like where this Hoya grows? And that is the best thing you can do. That's the one of the best things I learned. Um, Light and temperature work on a seasonal schedule. So what I do is when the days start getting shorter, around the time of the time change, I switch my lights and I turn them on 2 hours a day less. So I normally had them on for 14 hours. Now I just have them on for 12. And they turn off, and that spurs, like I have a Thomsonii. It's still blooming. It's been blooming for a couple of weeks now. It has like 7 or 8 peduncles on it, but that one will not bloom unless it gets colder and the light is turned down. So that would be the best thing I would say is if you're having a problem getting your Hoya to bloom, getting your Hoya to grow, because like serpents don't like heat. Pretty much every other Hoya I know loves heat. I mean, my cabinet the my Mills bow gets up to like 105 in the summer with the light on, and
Wow.
they just the plants just, I mean, I can't wrap them on their trellises fast enough. It grows, and light is, um, Hoyas need more light than you would think. Um, Even if a Hoya sun stresses a little, that still may not be enough light for it, because you probably sometimes sometimes sun stressing is just because you put a light like right here. But if you put a light right here, it's going to help that Hoya grow. Hoyas, in my experience, um, I don't fertilize my Hoyas very much. I'm trying to be better about it.
That's
Uh,
interesting because you know what Doug says. I fertilize my Hoyas at every watering.
yes, he does, and he's got massive Hoyas.
I'm gonna be getting better with fertilizing as well.
Yeah, I've tried a few. I had like the general hydroponics, three step, when I had all in semi hydro. Um, then I was using a seaweed fertilizer, and now what is the name of it? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. I have a new one now. MSU orchid fertilizer, um, because it's been talked about, like, because it's for epiphytes. It has low salt, so it doesn't build up salt around
Mhm.
your roots. You don't have to flush the pot. So it's made for epiphytes, and I have just started using that maybe like a month or so ago. So I can't really say for sure like what it does, but I will say what it doesn't. It doesn't hurt the plants. But light and humidity. If you have light and humidity, your Hoya will grow, and I mean grow.
Using my grow light with the season instead of having it on all the time. When I first started growing plants, I had it on for maybe 14 hours or 16 hours. But now it's kind of for the season. And, 8 o'clock, it would come on in winter. But now that the time is changing, I might change it because the sun is already coming up. But yeah, I like having the grow light fit for the season as well.
Yeah, it just helps the Hoya. It just helps the Hoya grow in your care more if you follow like the patterns that it likes.
Okay, have you had a season? Have you been in my season? Have you had a season where Hoya growing is not fun, and what has helped you through it?
Yes, absolutely. I would say my most recent time, it wasn't because I didn't want to, it was because I couldn't. And that's when I had my knee replaced in June. I was out of commission for about a month. I had an issue. I had an issue with recovery. Um, so I was not I missed watering for about a month, and I had some plants look sad. I had some plants pass, but I kept cuttings of all of them, and I restarted them all. And like I said, when you're playing with house money, when you already have more plant material than you had when you started, you can't really be too down on yourself, because you did make it grow, and it will grow again. Well, most of them. It will grow again. You just have to, it just takes a little bit of a shortcut sometimes. That's the thing I love about Hoya, is their growth, their rooting, and their blooming, and their getting new leaves. It's really different than other plants. Um, Not just roots everywhere along the stem. There's a lot of things. they're very forgiving. So I think because they're so forgiving, any stage I've had where I was like this and I didn't want to take care of my plants, it's reassuring, because whatever you do, you can fix. Even if you lose the plant, as long as it's not a super expensive one, you can get it again. You know, um, I think just having grace with yourself. Um, and if you do that, I think you will get through a rough patch. Because I think, at least for me, and I think other people, but I know for me, when I have a Hoya fail, like catastrophically fail, I, my little brain inside wants to take it personally.
Oh,
Oh,
I would
you did
take
this, you did that.
it. Yes, yes.
And the thing is the thing I've learned is that you can't do that, because then it's kind of like my husband watching football. We're from Kansas, so we're big Kansas City Chiefs fans. Don't boo me. And my husband, when he watches on game day, his attitude is directly proportionate to how well the team is doing. And if the team does bad, he is not a happy camper.
Yep.
So kind of like that with Hoya, if you let what the Hoyas are doing make you feel down and make you feel upset about taking care of plants, get rid of that plant, because there's lots of other things. And this is not, there are a lot of people getting out of the hobby right now because some people, it was a COVID thing, when
Mhm.
they were in their house. Some people went a little crazy with the buying, and now they have more plants than they
Mhm.
can safely handle. And I think get rid of those. Get rid of what
Yeah.
you feel you can't take care of, because they're gonna make you feel bad. They're If you are constantly trying to catch up with their care,
Mhm.
they're gonna go downhill eventually, and that's just gonna make you upset. Just stop it and just get rid of
Yeah.
that plant.
Yeah, and then if you decide you want it again, you can always get it back again. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
gosh, I had a thought and the thoughts left. It's left
Uh,
me.
was it about
It was,
buying
yeah, it was
Hoyas?
about that. Oh, yes, I remember. Okay. So, from the content I've been posting lately, the comments that are coming in has really sparked so much videos that I could do. But there's a video I want to do because like plant collecting is a hobby in itself. It is not, it's like being in the plant hobby, there's different phases of the plant hobby. And if you're in the collecting stage of the hobby, oh man, get ready, because like 2 years from now you're gonna get overwhelmed. Because like I think like what we need to do is like go from plant hobby, stay short in the collector state, but go straight to like curating, where you're intentionally having thoughts, growth, uh practices, everything with that plant. It's like treating the collection how a bonsai grower would treat it. So
Yeah.
much more intentional.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, but you were talking about collecting and curating, and then getting to the part where you're like, "Oh my god." And I've seen quite a few people get to that "oh my god" stage, and then something happens, work happens, life happens, kids get sick, bills are late, something happens and it's stressful and your plants go off to the side.
Hmm.
um it's if you have your plant set up right for your particular situation. So I'm not saying my way is the right way, I'm just saying my way is the right way for me. If you have your Hoyas set up in a good situation, they will survive a phase, you know.
Yeah,
So
I totally 100% agree with that. Yep.
So don't, if you're a new collector or you're new to the Hoya hobby, you know, don't get overwhelmed. And the other thing I would say, and this kind of brings back to what you were saying, is I carefully add Hoya to my collection. I look at that Hoya and I'm like, do I already have something like that that grows like that, that the new leaves are like that, or the final leaf is like that, or they grow the same? I am real careful and I don't have too many overlapping kind of plants. Like I have a Calistophylla and I have two Finlaysonii, but one is called Finlaysonia Black. Whoever heard, it's not black. And the other one is a round, it's got rounded ends. So I got that. And but other than that, like I don't have like a Hoya black cat, a Hoya chibi, a Hoya, I mean, Calistophyllus, I
Yeah.
don't have
The
all
the
of those
black
different
cat and the
things.
Calistophylla look so much alike.
Yeah. So
I
I
wonder
try
how
to,
they come up with these names because that drives me crazy. Because I have a Finlaysonii, and then I have a chicken farm Hoya, which I swear is the same plant, and then I have a Finlaysonii longleaf,
ah,
which was sold to me as something else. And as the plant continued to grow, I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is not what they sold to me as. So yeah, I wonder how they come up with. We'll have to do a video one day
uh,
on like really having a little chat about these Hoya names.
it's people come up with them, the grower who isolated the mutation, they grow it and or they name it, and that's how we have Matilda Green Fairy and or Ghost Fairy or whatever it is that I will eventually get my hands on once it comes down in price a little more.
Yeah, these Hoyas, some of the Hoyas are really pricey. So
I have my most expensive Hoya. Oh my god. My most expensive Hoya was a latifolia from Sarawak. I got that in 2020 or early 2021, and I paid for one leaf. I paid $108 for it.
wow.
And I was like, I did that because I really wanted the Hoya, and it was during COVID. So, things were a little looser then. And I bought it, and I get $108 worth of enjoyment out of it. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it, but I don't like, I understand why prices are the structure that they are, but I don't like that. I am a sharer, so I want, if you come to my house, you're probably going to get a clipping of a Hoya, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah,
Um
I interviewed someone, Julie. She said, "Oh, cuttings are free. Oh, it's a rare plant, $5."
mhm.
So,
I'm selling some cuttings today. Someone's going to come by today, and yeah, I just like, $14, here, you can have it for $14. And these are Hoyas that, like a Meredithii, that are kind of hard to find, um, because they grow slow as molasses. I always try to share the hobby.
okay, so last question I have for you. If you could offer one long-term guiding principle to someone just beginning the Hoya journey, what would it be?
Have grace for yourself, and don't get too upset. It's when something doesn't go right. Like say you get a cutting, like it's the first time you've gotten a Hoya cutting and you try to propagate it and it melts. Don't give up. Don't think it's always going to be like that. Don't think that you are not good at what you're doing. You are, and you will, and you can be. And every person's plant journey is their own plant journey, just like life. And if you collect or not collect different from someone else, don't worry about it. I guess what I'm trying to say in all is try to keep a positive attitude about your collection. Expect that there will be rough times. You're probably going to have pests. You're probably going to have, some type of root issue sometime in your growing experience. Just know that those happen, know how to fix them, and just go from there. Accept what happens. Don't assign blame for it. Just accept what happens and say, okay, what did I learn? I learned that Hoya serpens doesn't like to be kept on my short shelf that's this far from the light and 90 degrees. It don't like that. Okay, I learned. Did I lose three serpents in the process of learning that experience? Yes, I did. Am I mad at myself? Well, I wish I had the money back because one of them was pretty expensive.
I
But
think that's where we get upset is the money that we spend. Yeah.
it
But
is,
it's,
and
it is a gamble buying plants.
yeah, I think Hoya have a little more forgiveness in them than some other plants, like say an anthurium. Like, you don't water an anthurium exactly when it needs to be watered, then the leaves turn yellow, get yellow tips on the end, or
Yeah.
you over fertilize them and you burn the leaves. It's like, what does that plant want?
I
You
know.
know,
And then there's some anthuriums that if they're not in a glass cabinet, they're gonna throw a fit. Thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us to share your knowledge and experience with us today. Conversations like this always reminds me there's so much more to learn about Hoyas and how important it is to listen to other growers that's walked through this journey longer than we have. You can find a link to connect straight to Michelle's YouTube page below. Make sure you give her a follow so you don't miss out on all her nerdy Hoya goodness. If you'd like to see the video where Michelle interviewed me, click on the video somewhere here. Thank you so much for hanging out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Always remember you are loved.